this case. My co-counsel will be addressing the issue of the supposed Fifth Amendment due process violation. But first, I will address the argued Second Amendment issue, which claims the government violates Petitioner Garcia's rights by denying him a concealed carry weapons permit until he becomes a citizen. This court should affirm the decision of both lower courts because at no time has Mr. Garcia suffered a violation to his supposed Second Amendment rights, nor does he have one because he's an illegal immigrant. I present this court with 3 points on this issue. 1. Mr. Garcia doesn't have the right to possess his weapon at all, let alone carry it concealed on his person. 2. Mr. Garcia particularly doesn't have a right to carry a weapon concealed under the Second Amendment because he understands as his own person that it is the right of a citizen. 3rd and finally, illegal aliens generally are not part of the people as is protected in the Second Amendment. So let's get into the first issue, that Mr. Garcia does not have the right to possess a weapon at all, let alone carry it. And this is because of the Federal Gun Control Act of 1968, which prohibits the possession of a weapon by an illegal alien. As a prima facie issue, he therefore cannot conceal a weapon on his person.
Is the government trying to take away his gun, counsel?
Not this time.
Why are you arguing that to us? Let's move on to the issues that are actually that matter, the concealed carry permit, okay?
Sure. With regards to the concealed carry permit itself, we recognize that Mr. Garcia understood that it was the right of a citizen. As a matter of fact, he filed for his concealed carry weapons permit, as the record states, with, quote, the hope that he would become a citizen later. This shows that Garcia, at least when he tried to gain this concealed carry permit, he recognized that it was something not due an illegal alien, as he hadn't tried to acquire one in the past, even though he had a weapon in the past, but he tried to acquire it once he was accepted into the 5-year waiting period. And as part of a common sense understanding, I'm sure this court would agree, of a waiting period, of there are some rights that are restricted to you as you wait out this period. One of those will be the Second Amendment, because the interest of public safety in the Second Amendment is much more supreme than really any of the other rights in the Constitution.
Is it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Wait, would you characterize the Second Amendment as a fundamental right, counselor?
Yes, it is a fundamental right.
What's our scrutiny level for fundamental rights?
But Your Honor, with regards to the Second Amendment, the public safety violation with the balance test that this court must use is so far different than the First Amendment say.
So you're trying to tell me that people with concealed carry permits are more likely to commit violence than people with guns that don't have concealed carry permits?
No, Your Honor. What I am saying is that when the Congress and this court ought to look at what restrictions on the concealed carry weapons permit are reasonable, this court ought to look at these restrictions as separate and something, as the Circuit Court noted, than the First and Fourth Amendments, because the potential risk to the populace, to the citizenry of the United States, which is this government's job to protect, is much greater. And because it's much greater, the scrutiny level, therefore, must be less to balance that interest.
So what level of scrutiny should we apply?
Intermediate scrutiny, Your Honor,
Which
where you're balancing the potential gains of the petitioner with the public safety interest of the government.
And that's the balancing test, counsel. But first, we need to engage in intermediate scrutiny standard, and we need to see if the level of restriction is substantially related to a legitimate government purpose.
No, Your Honor. I'm sorry, I misspoke. I meant to say the balancing test with regards to this case. And as such, the balancing test with regards to the public safety in this particular instance, with regards to a potential action of Mr. Garcia, which may not even ever come to fruition as far as using this concealed carry permit, the balancing test lies in favor of the federal government in this case, because the risk of not only Mr. Garcia, because no case happens in a vacuum, as this court articulated previously. This means that we have to also look at other illegal immigrants and illegal immigrants, as it states in the facts of the record, as according to the Government Accountability Office, found that in 2011, undocumented persons were responsible for over 200,000 assaults, 25,000 homicides, etc. Because of this,
Is that a high number, counsel?
yes, Your Honor, it is a high number.
Compared to lawful citizens?
The facts of the record do show that lawful citizens commit at greater rates. What you have to understand is that crimes committed by illegal
Wait a
aliens.
second. So if unlawful residents are committing at lesser rates, why is this suddenly such a big deal that we've got to keep not only that, a gun, but a CCP away? We are infringing on this man's fundamental Second Amendment right. So am I suddenly supposed to say that that's okay simply because people of his particular demographic commit crimes at a lower level than people not of his particular demographic?
With regards to this particular demographic of illegal aliens, it is separate with consideration. If it was another group of two different citizen groups we're comparing, that would not be acceptable. But since it is an illegal immigrant group, they are entitled to the same protections as U.S. citizens.
Why not?
Because the Fifth Circuit held in U.S. v. Portillo Niño, Congress has the authority to make laws governing the conduct of aliens that would be unconstitutional if made to apply to citizens. And so in this
What
case,
was the Fifth Circuit discussing in that case?
the Fifth Circuit was discussing, I believe, a supposed Fourth Amendment violation, and the court argued in that case the reason why they upheld the statute was because with regards to illegal aliens, they aren't entitled to the full plethora of rights entitled to
Isn't
citizens.
it based on a Fourth Amendment analysis, a reasonable expectation of privacy based on what society is willing to accept, and unlawful immigrants have a lesser expectation?
Yes, and with regards to the specific part of dicta, it was talking about how precisely it was talking about how we apply rights to illegal aliens, and with applying rights to illegal aliens,
But you can't take that carte blanche, counselor. We have to take the analysis with it. Give me the Second Amendment analysis, why we would somehow treat a Second Amendment violation for an unlawful immigrant different than for a lawful.
Because it is understood with regards, as the Tenth Circuit held in U.S. v. Hushran Gozar, it is not exactly reading between the lines to know how frequently the opinion referring to Heller connected arms bearing and citizenship. This court previously in Heller and also in other circuit court decisions have connected arms bearing and citizenship as being separate.
Heller connected arms bearing and citizenship?
Yes, Your Honor, that's what the Tenth Circuit
Are
argued.
you sure Justice Scalia wasn't referring to the political community?
He was referring to the political community, and with regards to what the political community is, illegal aliens aren't a part of that. As the Fifth Circuit says in U.S. v. Portillo Niño, again, illegal aliens aren't law-abiding responsible citizens or members of the political communities, which it says specifically.
How is Mr. Garcia not law-abiding?
He's not a member of the political
That's not my
community.
question. I asked how he wasn't law-abiding.
Yes, Your Honor, and those are the two prongs. There's either being a law-abiding citizen, which is the justification used to restrict arms from felons, for example, and then there's member of the political community, both of which are prongs we can use.
I get the test, counsel. I'm asking a direct question. How is he not law-abiding?
Because one, he is in this country illegally, and two, he's not a member of the political community because he's not a citizen.
So-
But didn't he just get accepted? And he's in that 5-year waiting period, but he's technically a citizen now in the sense of he's in a 5-year waiting period just to finalize it. But he's been basically accepted, and if I remember correctly when I was reading it, he does pay taxes and he does do other law-abiding and participating within the community activities.
Yeah, he participates within the community, but he's still not a citizen or member of the political community because this 5-year waiting period.
No. The question was, what has he done that's unlawful? That's what this court is asking. What has Mr. Garcia done that's so unlawful?
Being in this country illegally would be.
When did he come across the border?
He was brought across by someone when he was 2 years
So
old.
he waddled across the border and that was illegal.
Yes, being in this
Okay.
country illegally is illegal. It is against the law.
So he's a criminal because his mom brought him across the border.
He is not a member of the political community.
See, and now you were going to say that. What does it take to be a member of the political community? Do you have to be a citizen?
Yes, that's what Portillo Niño says, or a legal permanent
No.
resident or green
You have to
card
be-
or something like that.
Right. So lawful residents are members of the political community.
Of course, he is not a lawful resident, though.
Isn't he?
No.
Doesn't the act grant him lawful residency?
It grants him amnesty for this 5-year waiting period. It doesn't grant him.
So
an
it says
LPR
you're
status.
still a criminal, but you can wait 5 years, at which time you won't be a criminal anymore?
Yeah, at which time you'll be brought into the political community as being a citizen. The 5-year waiting period is meant to be a screening period to ensure that he's not one of these illegal aliens who commits these sorts of crimes.
You're going to stick to your guns that he's an unlawful resident right now, aren't you?
He is not a lawful resident. He came to this country illegally.
So Congress didn't make him a lawful resident to make America safe again.
Not yet. And then after he completes the 5-year waiting period, then he will be a member of
But
the
didn't
political
they make
community.
him a lawful resident?
No,
Because
no.
he's been here for a certain period of time, and he applied to become a citizen, and they've accepted that application, just with the saying of, here's this 5-year waiting period?
No, Your Honor, the Make America Safe Again Act grants amnesty. It does not grant legal residency.
What does amnesty mean, Counsel?
Amnesty means that any deportation action or immigration proceeding will be forestalled. It will be forestalled for this 5-year waiting period upon this time as the Make America
I'm not asking what the legal concept of amnesty means. I want to know what amnesty means. If you were to hit me in the face and I granted you amnesty, what would that mean?
That would mean that you wouldn't pursue action against me.
That'd mean that it's okay, right? Isn't it?
Not precisely, Your Honor. You wouldn't have to, may I answer the question?
Oh, yeah, I'm enjoying it.
All right, so it wouldn't mean that you are approving of my action. What it means in saying that it is okay, what you are saying is that it's something that doesn't warrant a penalty at this specific time, which is what the amnesty and the
Thank you, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor.